Hello, everyone. This is Heidi from What Can I Do? Education section. We're continuing our work on strongmen and heroes. And this time the category is countries, all of the countries in the world. So this is going to be very, very long. It's another introduction class. I'm going to be reading names from all over the world and probably really butchering pronunciations. And I hope I don't. I'm going to try. And I'm going to give you the names and titles, perhaps, and maybe nicknames of some of the main heroes and villains around the world throughout history. It's a brief list. It is brief, too. It's very, very brief, and it's horrible and long. But the point of this is so that you hear some of the names, and it's just a sense of what has gone on in other countries, just a taste. And then this course will be choosing some of these people to highlight and talk about. So I'm not even going to read the entire list because, like I said, it's long. I'm going to read a couple maybe from each country. So, for example, in Afghanistan, there was Mohammed Daoud Khan, who overthrew the monarchy and then got assassinated. That sounds like a really common hero thing, doesn't it? You overthrow whoever's oppressive and then somebody kills you. And then there's Hafizullah Amin, who was a communist leader killed by the Soviets. See my point. And then there was Ahmad Shah Massoud, the Lion of Panjshir, who was an anti-Taliban hero. Probably not a hero to the Taliban, though. In Albania, I see there's Enver Hoxha, who's a Stalinist dictator, and King Zog I, self-proclaimed king, both in the 1900s, too. In Algeria, there was Ahmed Ben Bella, the first president who was an independence hero, and then Houari Boumediene, military strongman. In Argentina, there was Juan and Eva Perón, strongman and the, quote, beloved first lady, who I guess she was, I don't know. Again, other people that were heroes to some and villains to others. And I'll also pick Jose de San Martin, an independence hero they called the Liberator. In Armenia, there was Tigran the Great, an ancient king when the Armenian Empire was at its peak. And then Monte Melkonian. Oh, the name's much longer. Monte Melkonian Nagorno-Karabakh, a war commander. Australia had Robert Menzies, the longest-serving PM. He stayed in for 18 years, and then John Howard was a PM who was conservative. In Austria, there was Engelbert Dollfuss. Dollfuss, maybe. He was an Austro-fascist chancellor assassinated by Nazis. All right. And Kurt Waldheim, president with a hidden Nazi past. And then Bruno Krelsi, the socialist chancellor. Oof, that's a long history of complicated. Azerbaijan, Haydar Aliyev, a KGB general, KGB being the Russian intelligence or the CIA, like Russian CIA, right? And it was the president of Azerbaijan. And Ilham Aliyev, who I think was the son to the first one. And oh, good, they have a dynastic rule. In Bahrain, they just have one person, Hamad bin Isa al Khalifa, who's the king, who's done constitutional reforms. Bangladesh, there's Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who's an independence leader who got assassinated. And it's not funny, it's just so common. Sheikh Hasina, who's the daughter of Mujibur, who showed autocratic tendencies. Well, in Belarus, there's Alexander Lukashenko, who's known as Europe's last dictator. Been ruling since 1994. They don't like to leave. In Belgium, Leopold II was the king who owned the Congo, quote unquote, the Congo, and millions died. And then Leopold III collaborated with the Nazis and was forced to abdicate. Nice. Bolivia, there was Simón Bolívar, El Libertador, independence hero, and Che Guevara, the revolutionary who was killed in Bolivia. And later on, Evo Morales, who was the first indigenous president. But not until the 2000s. Take your land and don't let you participate. Bosnia and Herzegovina, Radovan Karadzic, Bosnian Serb general who has a genocide conviction. Oh. And Alija Izetbegovic, a Bosniak president during the war. Botswana, Saritsa Kama, first president, a founding hero. And Ian Kama, who's the son, president with a military background. So again, another dynastic kind of a thing. In Brazil, Getulio Vargas was a populist dictator and then committed suicide. And then Juscelino Kubitschek built Brasilia. João Goulart was a leftist president overthrown in 1964. And then there was a military junta, had a dictatorship. And then Emilio Medici was the harshest military dictator. And then Luis Inácio Lula da Silva was a working class hero and a 2-term president. Lula. Lula. Not now or recently?
I think was and is again.
Brunei. Hassanai Bolkiah, Sultan since 1967, an absolute monarch with oil wealth. Yay. Bulgaria. Todor Zhivkov, a communist dictator until 89, and then Simeon Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, a former king and later PM. Okay. Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, who's Africa's Che Guevara, they say, revolutionary who was assassinated in 87. And Blaise Compaoré, Sankara's assassin, who then ruled for 27 years. Fun. Burma or Myanmar. Aung San, who's an independence hero and then assassinated. See what I mean? Ne Win, a military dictator. Tan Shui, a junta leader. And then Aung San Suu Kyi, a democracy icon, a Nobel laureate, but tarnished by the Rohingya crisis. What was that?
Those are the Muslim minority that's repressed in Myanmar.
Kind of like the Uyghurs in China.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Cambodia, Norodom Sihanouk, who was a king, a prince, a political survivor. Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge, where they killed 2 million people. And Hun Sen, who's been the PM since 1985, who's an authoritarian. Again, fun. In Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo, who's the first president, and Paul Biya, who's the president since then. So there you go. 2 presidents, 40 plus years, 20 and then 40, because they don't like to go. Canada, you have John A. Macdonald, who was the first PM, and they consider him the Confederation father. Pierre Trudeau, liberal icon, who wrote up the Charter of Rights. Or I don't know if he wrote it, but... And then William Lyon Mackenzie King, who was the longest serving PM, 21 years, because they don't like to leave. The Central African Republic. Jean Bedel Bokassa, the emperor. Cannibalism rumors, and he was overthrown. I wonder why. Sounds like a nice guy. Chad, Francois Tombal Baye, first president who was a dictator. Hissène Habré, who was the African Pinochet. who committed atrocities and was convicted. And then Idris Deby seized power in 1990 and killed 2020. Or he was killed in 2021. I just figured he killed 2,000 people. So he was killed. Another fun place to live. I can't thank the powers that be enough for turning some of our country into places that feel more like that. Chile, Bernardo O'Higgins. O'Higgins, an independence leader. He sounds Chilean. Salvador Allende, socialist president who died in a CIA-backed coup in 1973. And Augusto Pinochet, the military dictator, killed over 3,000 people, but he had economic reforms. Well, you know, even Hitler did some good things for Germany, right? Sarcasm if nobody can understand that. China, Mao Zedong, communist revolutionary. Chiang Kai-shek, nationalist leader, fled to Taiwan. In case you wonder about China and Taiwan connections. And Deng Xiaoping, economic reformer, known for the Tiananmen Square massacre that we're not supposed to know about. And then Xi Jinping, the current strongman. He removed term limits because they don't like to go. Colombia, Simón Bolívar, El Libertador, for their independence. Pablo Escobar was a drug lord who terrorized the nation. I've been kind of reading them all, haven't I? I've been enjoying reading the names. And Alvaro Uribe, a hardline president with paramilitary ties. Most countries sound charming.
Right.
Let's see. Then there's the Congo. So there's the Congo DRC, and then there's the Republic of Congo, or Congo Republic. So the DRC, they had Mobutu Sese Seko, the kleptocrat dictator, billions stolen. And then, Bob, this is not funny, Patrice Lumumba, who was the independence hero, and he was assassinated. And then Laurent Desire Kabila overthrew Mobutu and was assassinated. And then Joseph Kabila, the son, was the president, and he had to delay elections and whatever. The other Congo had, Nguesso, maybe? The president doesn't say too much about that, though. In Costa Rica, Jose Figueres Ferrer, who abolished the army and was a 3-term president, and Oscar Arias, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, who was honored for regional peace efforts. Well, Costa Rica sounds a little bit more calm.
A little bit.
And then there's the Ivory Coast. I don't know quite how to say it, but the Côte d'Ivoire, maybe, I don't know. Ivoire, I just don't know. Felix Haupoyer Bolny, I'm sorry I butchered that, I think, but he was known as the father of the nation. And Laurent Gbagbo refused to leave office and had to be arrested. Yeah, note, if you refuse to leave office, you might get arrested. Croatia, Franjo Tudman, the first president, a nationalist, war crimes tribunal questions. Josip Broz Tito, Tito, the Yugoslav leader during World War II. Croatia by birth, or was it World War I? Tito.
No, it might have been post-World War II.
Cuba, Fidel Castro, the communist revolutionary dictator. And Che Guevara, the revolutionary icon executed in Bolivia. And let's see, Fulgencio Batista, dictator overthrown by Castro. And Raul Castro, Fidel's brother, who was the president from the time that Fidel got sick until now. Hard to say. In this case, there were medical things and educational things that were good. But an awful lot of people left being upset. I have a sneaky suspicion that it was the moneyed people that left and got mad, but I'm not sure about that. In Cyprus, they had the Archbishop Makarios III, who was an independence leader, and it doesn't say he was assassinated. And Rauf Denktaş, who was a Turkish Cypriot leader. Cypriot? Which is a Cyprus person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were trying to take over Cyprus for Turkey.
Oh. That didn't work out too well eventually.
Well, I don't recall. It could still be split.
Okay. In Czechoslovakia, Tomas Masaryk was the founder and first president. Alexander Dubček, the Prague Spring reformer, crushed by the Soviets. Gustav Husak, the communist hardliner after the Prague Spring. And then Václav Havel, the dissident playwright who became the president after the Velvet Revolution. I might have to learn more about that, a Velvet Revolution. Was it a velvet curtain or was it a soft revolution? Well, Denmark just has it has Christian X, king during World War II, a resistance symbol. The Dominican Republic had Rafael Trujillo, a brutal dictator who was assassinated, and Joaquin Balaguer, a protege who then was president for 22 years. Trujillo. So there was a brutal dictator who had a protege. The dictator's assassinated and the protege takes over. Did the protege assassinate it? I'll find that out. Ecuador. Eloy Alfaro, a liberal revolutionary president, and Jose Maria Velasco Ibarra, a 5-time president who was a populist. A populist. So they wanted him there. President was elected. Was he good? Was he bad? We don't know. Populist doesn't tell us much, except that they were popular and people were excited.
Yep.
Egypt. Nasser. Gamal Abdel Nasser, pan-Arab hero, nationalized the Suez Canal. A pan-Arab hero. Doesn't that imply that perhaps he wasn't a hero to everybody? But he was a hero to a lot of Arabs. I just want to find out what that was because they were very specific. But if he was a hero to, was he... like I said, heroes are not always heroes to everybody, so I'm just curious. Anwar Sadat made peace with Israel and then was assassinated. Note, Nasser wasn't assassinated. Or was he?
I think he was.
Was he? Didn't say that on here.
No, I think he was.
Ooh. Yuck. Hosni Mubarak, a dictator for 30 years, was overthrown in the Arab Spring. And Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, el-Sisi, military strongman. Been there for 12 years already. Because they don't like to leave. 30 years here, 12 years here. I'm telling you, 5-time president over there. Salvador Oscar Romero, he was an archbishop, a champion of the poor. And guess what? He was assassinated. Roberto D'Abusan was a death squad leader. He was the Salvadoran Pinochet. And Maximiliano Hernandez Martinez was a dictator. And there was a massacre in 1932 where 30,000 were killed. And we wonder why it is that some of the people want to leave there and go somewhere else.
Right?
We think they should stay? What? So in Equatorial Guinea, Francisco Macias Nguema, it's Nguema. Nguema was an insane dictator. 50,000 killed. 50,000 plus. And then Teodoro Oblong was his nephew, overthrew him, and then has been the president since 1979 because they don't want to leave. Eritrea. Isaias Afwerki, independence fighter, president since 1933. Independence fighter, but also a totalitarian. And it's vicious there from what I've read and heard. Estonia. Konstantin Pitts. Sorry. That wasn't very nice. Let's start over. You can cut that out. Estonia. Konstantin Pitts. Independence leader, first president. Ethiopia. Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie. Emperor. Rastafarian deity. I didn't know that. That's deity. Okay, he was overthrown in 74, so he wasn't a deity to everybody, apparently. Mengistu Haile Mariam, communist dictator, the Red Terror. He fled to Zimbabwe. And Meles Zenawi, a rebel leader, PM from, 1995 to 2012. In Fiji, Sitiveni Rabuka led 2 coups, and Frank Bainimarama led a military coup. Okay then. In Finland, Carl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim was a marshal. He defended against the Soviets. Oh wait, I misread. Let me do that again. His name is outrageous. Finland, Carl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim Marshall, who defended against the Soviets and was the president. There you go. France had Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor, a military genius, European conquest, defeated, banished, humiliated, I guess. Charles de Gaulle, a World War II resistance leader, the Fifth Republic founder. François Mitterrand, the socialist president for 14 years. And Jean-Marie Le Pen, who's a far-right leader with a political dynasty. I know. Let's see. I'm skipping some of the smaller places. No offense intended, but this is going to be really long, and I'm going to stick with places that are a little bit more well known. Georgia, Joseph Stalin was born in Georgia, the Soviet dictator. Germany, Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor who unified Germany the first time. Kaiser Wilhelm II led Germany into World War I. Adolf Hitler, the Nazi dictator. Well, he was born in Austria, though. Holocaust, 50 plus million. World War II deaths. You know, and we don't need to really say too much about Hitler here, do we? Konrad Adenauer, the West German founder. He did a lot of post-World War II rebuilding. And Helmut Kohl, the reunification chancellor. I also would add Merkel. What was her first name again? Andrea Merkel, who had the misfortune of having to work with President Trump in his first term. Greece. Ioannis Metaxas, the fascist dictator during World War II. Didn't know that. George Papadopoulos, military junta leader. Andreas Papandreou, socialist prime minister. And Konstantin Karamanlis, did democratic rebuilding after the junta. That's a lot. I didn't know enough about Greek history or Greek modern history. I still don't. That's very little. Let's see. When did we invade Grenada? Do you remember the year? Early 80s, right?
Yeah, because it was Reagan.
Well, because Maurice Bishop was the Marxist prime minister killed in a coup in 83.
Oh, well.
Bernard Cord was the hardliner who killed Bishop, and the U.S. invasion followed. Were we helping him or hurting him?
I don't know.
Guatemala, Jorge Ubico was a dictator during World War II, again, forced labor. Jacobo Arbenz was a reformer president overthrown by the CIA in 1954. And Efren Rios Montt, military dictator, Mayan genocide. I don't know if that was before or after or when, because there's no year, but dudes, again, we wonder why people wanted to leave. Haiti. Toussaint Louverture, the slave revolt leader, the independence hero. I'm sure I butchered his name and I feel bad about it, but Then there's Francois Duvalier and Jean-Claude Duvalier, Papa Doc and Baby Doc, respectively. Papa Doc was known as a voodoo dictator, Taunton Macaudus Terror. And Baby Doc continued on with the dictatorship and finally had to flee in 1986. And then there was Aristide, the popularist priest and president who was exiled twice. In Honduras, Tiburcio Carillas Andino, who was a dictator, and Manuel Zelaya, the president who was overthrown in a 2009 coup. All sounds very difficult. In Hungary, János Kadar, the communist leader, Miklos Horthy, a regent dictator, allied with Hitler, Nagy, the reformed communist who was executed after an uprising, and then Viktor Orban, who runs an illiberal democracy with an authoritarian drift now. Trump's friend. In fact, highly regarded by the Republicans in Congress. I know, right? India, Mahatma Gandhi, an independence hero, nonviolent resistance. Nehru, Jawaharlal, maybe? He was the first PM, a secular socialist. Indira Gandhi was known as the Iron Lady, who was an authoritarian. It says authoritarian emergency. I'm not sure, because I don't remember enough of what happened. But she was assassinated. And then there's Modi, who's a Hindu nationalist PM, right now, strongman tendencies. In Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, a democratic PM overthrown by the CIA, and they installed Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who was the Shah. And he was an autocrat who was forced to flee in 1979 when the Ayatollah Khomeini came in with an Islamic revolution. And then there was Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader since 1989. And maybe at the same, I think it's the same time, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the hardline president, the Holocaust denial. Whew. Iraq, Abdel Karim Qasim, who overthrew the monarchy in 1958. Saddam Hussein, brutal dictator, came in, he gassed the Kurds. Then there were the Gulf Wars, and Nouri al-Maliki, sectarian PM, but ISIS rose under him. Ireland, Eamon de Valera was a revolutionary. Michael Collins was an independence hero. Charles Stewart Parnell, home rule champion. I find it interesting in some cases here, if this is a bias of the AI or bias of what's covered on the internet, but it seems like some countries we're hearing about the bad guys and other kinds of countries we're hearing about their heroes, and I'm just, I don't know. Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the founding father, Golda Meir, the first female PM. See what I mean? It's very light. They're talking about Israelis very neutrally here, but these are people who also took over land and butchered people. So I'm going to stop there with them. And Netanyahu just says longest serving PM. Come on. And I don't like it because, see, I thought that the AI at first, when I first started using Claude, it would talk about anything. And it seemed to have no fear or favor. And now all the things that Donald Trump thinks you see reflected. And I don't like it, Anthropic. I don't like it. Italy, Giuseppe Garibaldi, the unification hero. Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator, Hitler ally. Silvio Berlusconi, is that lady, the blonde lady? The media mogul 3-time PM? No? Silvio, is that a dude? Okay, makes more sense. Do you remember the name of the right-wing woman who was running? I don't remember.
No.
So in Jamaica, Alexander Bustamante was the first PM and a labor leader, and Michael Manley was a socialist PM with two separate terms. Two separate terms meaning separated like Trump?
I think so.
Japan, Emperor Meiji led the modernization era. Hideki Tojo was the World War II PM, war crimes, he was executed. Emperor Hirohito was the World War II emperor, and he avoided prosecution. Well, sure, the elites often do. And Douglas MacArthur, American pre-consul, rebuilt Japan. So you want to say he was a Japanese hero for that? I have a bone to pick with that idea. Or is he a strong man? MacArthur. That's a discussion. Jordan, Abdullah I was the founder. He was assassinated in 1951. Hussein bin Talal was the king for 47 years and survived multiple coup attempts. And Abdullah II is the current king, who's the son of Hussein, not the son of Abdullah I. North Korea. Yeah. Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, the great leader, the dear leader, and the supreme leader. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit more picky about what I say now, because if they're just boring, I'm not reading them. Kyrgyzstan. Askar Akayev, president overthrown in the Tulip Revolution. And Kurmanbek Bakiev, who was also overthrown. Laos had Souphanouvong, the Red Prince, who was a communist revolutionary. Excuse me. And Kayson Phomvihane, a communist leader. Liberia, Samuel Doe, real name. Military coup 1980, brutal rule, killed in 1990. Charles Taylor was a warlord president, war crimes, imprisoned. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, first elected female African head of state. Libya had Gaddafi, the eccentric dictator who was killed in the uprising. Idris King, overthrown by Gaddafi. Omar Mukhtar, anti-Italian resistance hero. Lithuania, Vytautas the Great, medieval Grand Duke from the Golden Age. Contrasting with Antanas Smetona, the authoritarian president during World War II. Luxembourg, in parentheses, small peaceful nation, no notable strong men. Oh, go Luxembourg. Madagascar had Didier Ratsiraka, socialist dictator, and Mark Ravalomanana. It's like Manana. Mark Ravalomanana. Businessman president, overthrown in 2009. Malawi has Hastings Banda, president for life dictator. Or had, anyway. President for life. I guess he must have died. 1994. Mexico, Benito Juarez, a reform hero, resisted the French occupation. And Porfirio Diaz, dictator 30 plus years, sparked the revolution. Pancho Villa was a revolutionary hero or bandit. So again, our heroes to everyone. Emiliano Zapata, a revolutionary. Lázaro Cárdenas, a reformer president. Oil nationalization. And then the PRI, the Institutional Revolutionary Party, was a one-party rule for 71 years. We're not talking about some of the very recent people, and I think we should. I think they have a hero right now. Claudia. So Mongolia had Genghis Khan, founded the Mongol Empire and was a world conqueror. And oh my goodness. Karlugian Cholbalsan. My goodness wasn't at the name, it was at my eyes not being able to tell L's from I's because the dots were blending. The Stalin of Mongolia. Montenegro, Milo Dukanovic, president on and off since 1991. Is he the dude that Trump elbowed out of the way because Trump wanted to be in the front?
Well, maybe.
Probably Milo, probably not. It's probably Milo Dukanovic. I think that was better. Morocco, Mohammed V was an independence hero and a king. Hassan II was an autocratic king. The years of lead repression. And Mohammed VI, the current king, modest reforms. Mozambique, Samora Machel, revolutionary, died in a plane crash. Joaquim Chissano, president who brought peace. Okay. Nepal, King Mahendra, absolute monarch, banned parties. What a spoil, probably political parties, huh?
Right.
Didn't ban partying? All right. King Gyanendra dissolved parliament, forced out in 2008. And then Prithvi Narayan Shah unified Nepal in the 18th century. Oh, in the 18th century. Right. Netherlands, William the Silent, the father of independence from Spain. Spain had Netherlands. Huh. How come I didn't know that? William III, Stadtholder, became King of England. And Queen Wilhelmina was a World War II resistance symbol. New Zealand, Richard Seddon was the longest serving PM, and Richard Muldoon was a controversial PM. Economic controls, you know. Nicaragua, Anastasio Somoza Garcia, dynasty founder and dictator. Anastasio Somoza Debayle was the son, overthrown in 1979, and then Daniel Ortega was a Sandinista revolutionary, the president, and he came back to power, and he's an authoritarian, according to Claude. Niger, Hamani Diori, first president, he was overthrown, and then Sani Kaunchi was a military strongman. Nigeria, Nnamdi Azikiwe, first president, independence hero. It's just, and then there's Sani Abacha, a brutal military dictator. It looks like they had mostly military rulers and military dictators. Norway, Vidkun Quisling, Nazi collaborator. Quisling equals traitor. Okay, kind of like Benedict Arnold. Kind of like Benedict Arnold.
Yes.
Haakon the Seventh, the king during World War II, another resistance symbol. Oman, Qaboos bin Said. If his name's Qaboos, shouldn't he be the last one? Sorry. Qaboos bin Said. He was a sultan for 50 years. He should be. He modernized the nation, though. Oh, Pakistan. My goodness. Muhammad al-Jinnah, the founder. Liaquat al-Khan, first PM assassinated. Ayub Khan, first military dictator. Zulfikar al-Bhutto, populist PM, hanged by the military. Benazir Bhutto, first female Muslim leader, assassinated. Zia-ul-Haq, military dictator, Islamization, died in a plane crash. And Pervez Musharraf, military leader, 9/11 ally. 9/11 ally. Ally of whom? Of ours or ally of the people who did it?
Good question.
Okay. Panama, Omar Torrijos, leftist military ruler died in suspicious plane crash, and Manuel Noriega, a drug-running dictator overthrown by the U.S. in 89. Nice Panama. In Paraguay, they had José Gaspar Rodriguez de Francia, El Supremo, an isolated dictator. And Alfredo Stroessner. That sounds very German. A military dictator right after World War II. All right. In Peru, Simón Bolívar, liberator. He got around, didn't he? José de San Martin, an independence hero. Juan Velasco Alvarado, a leftist military ruler. And Alberto Fujimori, a strongman president. Defeated Shining Path, imprisoned for human rights abuses. And then Abimael Guzman, a Shining Path terrorist leader. Wow, Peru's had it.
Yeah.
And then the Philippines. Jose Rizal. I'm going to start that part over so you can cut that out where I did this.
Oh, okay.
And then the Philippines. Jose Rizal was a national hero executed by the Spanish. Emilio Aguinaldo, revolutionary, was the first president. And then there was Ferdinand Marcos and Imelda Marcos, the dictator and the extravagant first lady with all the shoes. And Benigo Aquino Jr. and Corazon Aquino, the opposition, and Rodrigo Duterte, the Punisher. Drug war, extrajudicial killings. Ugh, complicated. In Poland, there was Józef Pilsudski, an independence hero and military ruler, and Władysław Gomulka, a communist hardliner, Lech Walesa, the solidarity leader, who got the Nobel Prize. Lots of people got the Nobel Prize, everyone but Donald. And then Jaruzelski was a communist general who did martial law. Portugal, there was Salazar, the fascist dictator. And then his successor, Caetano, who was overthrown in the Carnation Revolution. There was a Tulip Revolution, a Carnation Revolution.
Right.
And then, let's see. Romania had Nicolae Ceausescu, the communist dictator who was executed with his wife in 1989. Russia, Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Nikita Khrushchev, Leonid Brezhnev, Mikhail Gorbachev, Boris Yeltsin, who I dislike completely because he turned over power to Vladimir Putin. One was a czar, one was a despot, one was a revolutionary, one was a totalitarian dictator. It goes on. The best one caused the whole USSR to collapse, so he might have been a hero to the West, but he probably was not he's not a hero. He definitely wasn't a hero to Putin.
No.
Ah, well. Saudi Arabia, Abdulaziz ibn Saud was the kingdom founder, and then Faisal was the modernizing king who was assassinated. And then Mohammed bin Salman is the crown prince, the one who dissolved the journalist Khashoggi. Not a good guy. MBS. Watch out for him. He's rich. Trump likes him. In Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew is the founding father, an authoritarian modernizer, and Lee Hsien Loong, his son, has been the PM since 2004 because they don't like to leave. Somalia, Mohammed Siad Barre, military dictator, long-time state collapse. Mohammed Farah Aidid, warlord, Black Hawk Down, yay. South Africa, Cecil Rhodes, Paul Kruger, Hendrik Verwoerd, Botha, de Klerk, all apartheid people. Imperialist, white supremacist, ick. Nelson Mandela, anti-apartheid hero, first black president. Desmond Tutu, the archbishop. And Jacob Zuma, a president with massive corruption. I don't know. Once you have a whole bunch of rich white people who think that cruelty is governance, it's hard to ever really have a comfortable place. There's still so much inequality and ickiness, and now they're saying that the white people are being terrorized and it's racist against them. I'd say all the white people should leave. They don't need to be there. Anyway, none of my business, right? Spain, Francisco Franco, the fascist dictator. Juan Carlos I, the king who restored democracy after Franco. Funny, the king restored democracy. That's just funny. And then Dolores Ibarrul, the communist Civil War icon. Interesting. Syria, Hafez al-Assad, the Lion of Damascus, dictator from 1971 to 2000. And who took over? Bashar al-Assad, his son, the president since 2000. Wasn't Tulsi Gabbard his apologist or something? Is she the one?
I think so.
Yeah. Taiwan, Chiang Kai-shek, the nationalist dictator, fled from the mainland. And Shang Qing-qiu, his son, he was a late authoritarian, and then he led over some democratization. And Li Tenghui was the first native Taiwanese president, also democratization. Thailand, Rama the Ninth, longest reigning monarch, 70 years. Then Sarit Tanarat, the military dictator. Thaksin Shinawatra, the populist PM, overthrown in a coup. And Yingluck Shinawatra, his sister, also the PM, also overthrown. Doesn't say if it was a coup. In Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founder of modern Turkey, secularizer. İsmet İnönü, second president, World War II neutrality. Adnan Menderes was executed after a military coup. Turgut Özal, an economic liberalizer. These were all pretty much presidents and things. Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Islamist strongman, president, authoritarian drift. Similar to Hungary in that sense. Uganda, Milton Obote was the first PM president, and he was overthrown twice. And then Idi Amin was a brutal dictator. 300,000 plus killed, and he, it says, was eccentric. Well, yeah.
At least.
Yoweri Museveni was president, or is president since, and was since 1986. A guerrilla hero turned autocrat. In the Ukraine, there was Stepan Bandera, World War II nationalist, a controversial hero. And then Leonid Kravchuk, the first president after independence. And then Viktor Yanukovych, the pro-Russian president who fled in 2014. And then Volodymyr Zelensky, the comedian president. I wouldn't put it that way. How about comedian become president or performer become president? Sounds like he's a joke. War hero against Russia. Well, look at our country. The comedians are some of the most intelligent, right-on commentators.
Exactly.
There are people who want either one of the two, Colbert or Kimmel, to be president. I don't know about that, but United Kingdom, Winston Churchill was the World War II hero. Some people think he saved Western civilization. Margaret Thatcher was known as the Iron Lady. Conservative Revolution. Tony Blair, Labor. Although Labor, but not liberal in some way, right? Weird. Who else do I want to share? Venezuela. Simón Bolivar. I'm telling you, the man gets around. Romulo Betancourt, Democratic founder, served 2 terms. Hugo Chavez, a popularist socialist Bolivarian, the Bolivarian Revolution, and then Nicolas Maduro, Chavez's successor, economic collapse, authoritarian, and most recently kidnapped by the Trump regime and brought here to stand trial. Congress didn't. Well, it didn't not approve, but it didn't have a chance to approve, for the record. Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, revolutionary hero, defeated both France and the U.S., if you want to look at it that way, which they do. Vo Nguyen Giap, I don't know if I'm saying that right, a legendary general, Tet Offensive, and Ngo Dinh Diem, the South Vietnamese dictator, assassinated in 1963. That'd be interesting to look at now from this perspective, because I don't know if we were on the right side or not.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I think we've frequently not really been on the right side. In Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh, the president for 33 years, who was killed by the Houthis in 2017, and Abdul Malik al-Houthi, Houthi rebel leader. I'm kind of wondering if that means Abdul Malik of the Houthis, or if there was a guy named Houthi and this is his kid, Abdul Malik al-Houthi. Because if it was Ben something or another, it would mean like son. So, in Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda was an independence hero and then president for 27 years. And Frederick Chiluba defeated Kaunda and was corrupt. Seems sad. Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, liberation hero turned tyrant. Yay. And Emerson Mnangagwa, the crocodile, ousted Mugabe and continued the repression. Yay, humans! So, dipping in, picking and choosing. We'll pick a person here, a person there. We'll look for patterns, and we'll put together an interesting course that won't be just me reading off a list of people. But I hope you enjoyed this anyway. See you soon.